computer and then
Okay.
Somehow Dropbox me a link to
Okay.
it. And then my other request is when you and I last spoke in the Zoom meeting, you showed us your cartoon set, your go by standard that you put together that's bare bones.
Yep.
And I know Lisette and the rest of my team will really appreciate what you guys, the thoughtfulness you put into that. And so if you could, maybe, I know you don't have it ready yet, but if you could pull that up and just spend 2 or 3 minutes showing us what you've done in there, I know Lisette would love to see that.
Okay. And so Keith, I'll do that. The same one I showed him, basically that cartoon set that we put together for the Apex. But Keith and Chris, do you think maybe showing lot 28 or one of the other ones would be a good sample as well?
I'll pull up 28
Okay.
and we'll show that one.
Okay. All right, so let's just start real quick with the Sky Lot 86 plan. All right, hold on. All right, can you guys see? You seeing it, Chris?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
All right, Chris, why don't you go ahead and talk through it just real quick. There is potentially a little second floor up here, but for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
So we'll
Well, we had a meeting on it this morning. There may be a little bit more second floor, but let's just stick with what we have right now. So I guess if you're looking at this lot from left to right, we're primarily trying to keep this as a single story home. Right now we're at roughly 7,100 square feet total. There may be some tweaks that bump us up just based on our initial programming brief. We were a little bit higher than this, so we do have some wiggle room to work with. But basically we're looking to keep this, I think, fairly simple in terms of how we're going to mass this house and build this out. But we have a media room bar to the left with a staircase that would run up to the second floor. What we've been doing a lot of recently, which is you can kind of see that entry sequence to get to that pivot door. As you start making your way to the right, it'll be just to the right of the office. That office space would basically get a look out over the water. And then as we keep making our way right through the house, we have a sort of combined kitchen great room experience. Behind the kitchen, we have a tucked in prep kitchen and pantry space that connects to the two-car garage. We have a dining room sort of segregated from that space. It's a little bit more private. And then a hallway that will get us down to the master suite, master bath, walk-in closet, all kind of flanking off of that hallway. As you keep making your way down, we get to laundry, 2 additional bedrooms, which are, well, right now, one of them is showing in suite, the other one is showing to the hall. But we're going to actually probably look to simplify that just because we have a lot of jogs in that shape. So I think we're going to try to make it a little bit easier.
They look like they're both in suite because of the location of the door.
Yeah, you're right. But we'll look to simplify that a little bit just based on a conversation today. The 4-car garage, in the simplification of that space, we're going to probably grow it to the right a little bit by a few feet. And then we have a casita and a 4-car garage, which are detached. One thing that we are looking to explore a little bit, and this is really just more from a confirmation standpoint, but in between that 4-car garage and that casita, we're looking to just make sure that we have the dimensioning for a sport court. Really more specifically a tennis court.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's it'll be something that we'll end up confirming because as you can see, we start showing the topography lines. We have about an 8 to 10 foot difference in height from the lot that's next to us. So how much we would cut into that and whether we'd even be able to fit a tennis court or something we're going to do a quick study on. But that would just really be more for planning purposes, just to make sure that we have all these buildings in the correct locations. And then on the second floor, Right now, we're holding to a junior suite with in-suite, full bath and closet space. What gets programmed potentially, if we are going to add square footage, I'm not sure yet. But this would be the house that we'd look to start with.
So should be, I mean, the forms, we don't know what the forms are gonna look like yet, but do we have something current that shows kind of the current Equinox forms that we've been playing with? It would be probably on our website. Did you guys get a chance to
We
look
have
at our
YouTube,
website?
we have
Okay,
YouTube videos for all the Equinox lots.
okay, let me, let's see. Let me just reshare something. Just kind of give you a sense, and I'm sure you guys have probably had a chance to look at our website, but you know, these are kinds of the forms that we're working with nowadays.
Okay,
Let's see if I can find some better imagery. Yeah, so this is in Askaya,
okay,
but just give a sense of the type of gestures that we're playing with these days.
nice. Yeah, I did look at it a little bit, and I'm curious, are you moving everything in that direction, or is it just some of your architecture?
It certainly seems like we're going a lot more in this direction, right, Chris?
I would say on specs for sure. We're probably going into a more, I think, what looks complex with some of our clients, though, that just it's really more project specific. Some can get really complicated. Others, I think, like a little bit more simple forms and stuff that we've done in the past. So it really just kind of depends.
Is this current project, sorry, Askaya Lot 86, is that a spec?
It is a spec, yes.
Okay. How many,
Yeah.
what percentage of specs do you do roughly?
I don't know where we're at this point.
Yeah, it's so this whole spec game is a new thing for us, where we are really trying to capitalize on the market and just get them in the ground.
Right.
I would say we currently have 2 specs, 1 spec that we're finishing off construction. The image I was sharing with you, this was Abrigo, this is getting ready to break ground. We also have a community and Equinox. Where's our stuff? Always, I gotta get familiar with our website. It's a community we have called Equinox 2 that has 7 lots. I think 6 or 7 lots, all spec. We've broken ground on one, anticipate breaking ground on another. So let's say we've probably got about a dozen specs, if not more, maybe 15 specs, either at, you know, getting ready to break ground or in design. So the spec game is a big one for us now.
Great. And I noticed a couple of years ago, you guys came out to La Jolla. So is that continuing?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
don't think so. I think with everybody coming, with so many people coming here, and a lot of attention happening in Vegas, we're just gonna focus on Vegas for now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, so Keith, sorry, I keep looking for the other stuff. Yeah, you can see some of the forms here that we've been playing with. Some pretty big gestures.
Yeah.
All right, Keith,
Sir,
if you would please pull up, you go ahead and start with lot 28.
okay, I'll share my screen.
And then I'll also pull up that cartoon set.
All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So lot 28, and it's pretty similar to what you'll see in the that template set that we'll send over to you guys. Pretty much our cover sheet. First thing you'll notice that we break out our indexes. Our architectural index is broken out from our consultant index. In terms of just speaking in terms of Revit, we developed this index. This is the architectural index is a smart index, meaning that when you create your sheets within Revit, it populates this browser. But this index is not. This index is one that you can just type and add in different cells and
Nice.
just type in what you want versus have to make fake sheets in Revit. That's how a lot of people do it. One thing we do that's unique here, we put our site plan on the cover sheet. So we drop that on the cover sheet. And then following that, you have your vicinity map, symbols, calculations, and codes and stuff like that. That's that's what we do on the cover sheet. The plan. So in speaking also as I'm going through the set, I'll just kind of reference Revit as well. Like what do we expect in terms of modeling and kind of why and the benefits of doing that as as we go through this set here. So one of the things to speak to is that in Revit, we try to model mostly everything. Majority you see here, everything is mostly modeled. We do have a few little things in our lines and fill regions and stuff like our 2D elements, but mostly everything is 3D elements.
Okay.
If you take note that on our floor plan, we do use grids.
Nice.
Grids will be to face of stud, face of slab. So we try to make sure we do that. You will see a consistency of numbers up top, letters, alphabet down the side. So I'll send kind of that over those kind of drafting standards that we're looking for and stuff like that. So let's just give you a little look at this. This is actually a spec home as well. And floor plan, roof plan. On our roof plan, we try to make sure we show a dash line of the building below.
Yeah.
We also are showing how we're draining this roof. Where is it kind of coming down? So we try to make sure we illustrate that, call out where any penetrations are happening for the fireplaces and stuff like that.
So Keith, could you show me where a drain goes from the drain to the wall, like where your mouse is right there?
Yeah, so like we're draining this roof, we're taking it all over from here and we're dumping it out over here.
Okay.
So you can see kind of how we do that.
And
so
does your mechanical chime in to do the calculations of the flow of how much capacity a set of drains can take from an area on the roof? Or?
So what we typically do normally, we will start with that. We'll kind of, make sure that we are not look at the square footage of this roof and then determine how many drains we need from there based off the square footage of the roof. So we kind of initially come with that design ourselves personally, and then as our mechanical do get to take a look at it, then they can chime in. But we normally kind of guide that originally.
Okay, that's how we had done it in the past. So just wanted to see if we're still in line with that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So roof plan. This is a 1-story. On our elevations, we like to shade them for our paint colors.
Okay.
And one thing to note here that we've seen other people do is they use fill regions for this stuff. No, it's actually painted. I'll jump to the model in conjunction with looking through this here. So we take time out and paint the whole building. That way we don't, because our paint actually coincides with, we do a color map, which is based off primary colors. You'll see I have a bunch of primary colors. So this kind of coincides right with the primary colors. We'll talk, I think what we need to do is have probably a separate meeting and kind of go through this a little bit deeper in detail, those type of fine details of kind of why we're doing certain things in Revit. But just to, touch on the point that yes, we would like you to actually paint this, not add fill regions when you're doing your interior elevations.
Okay.
Go back to the set. We try to make sure we show a perspective view to give more context of understanding the building, understanding these elevations as well. So as you can see there, and then each shade kind of coincides with initial legend.
Right.
Okay. Notice we still have our gray lines do show up on elevations.
Okay.
Some more interior elevations here. One thing we do is produce one sheet showing 4 views 4 sides of the building. Like, again, just to kind of give a better, give someone a better understanding of the forms of the architecture that they're looking at.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sections. This is a 1-story home, but what we typically do on our sections, we try to make sure as well that we have one section, if it's a 2-story, that go through the stairs, right? So we try to make sure we indicate that. So typically we can we'll can get away with just doing 2 sections, but here on this particular one we did kind of 4. Do as many you need to kind of really illustrate the building, what we need to kind of get the point across. But 2 sections minimum. One must go through a stair if it's 2-story.
right. Okay,
Our sections are not. We don't do a lot of detailing in here. They're pretty simple. We do show the footings as well, but we don't really go crazy deep into showing a lot of stuff in there.
okay,
Keep it pretty simple. And then we just got our details. A lot of these details, we do have a lot of these details drawn. So we'll talk about getting some of those details over to you. Most of these are just drafting views that we kind of pull from a library, insert into the drawing.
okay.
So detail set. And then our door schedule, window schedule. So all this is smart. It ties back into our windows and doors.
Great.
Ceiling plan here. What I did here is make sure that we do show this. I'm showing the stucco still, and then just the gyp board. So I kind of illustrate the difference between this is gyp, this is stucco, what that paint finish is on the exterior as well. Do all the architectural lighting and the mechanical, make sure it's all nicely lined up and thought through of where this stuff is actually going and where we want to see it at. So that's kind of one of the things we'll look for.
And
We'll get, go ahead, Lisette.
I'm sorry, is the lighting and is that something that we get from a consultant to overlay?
So the lighting, all the architectural lighting, we do original architectural lighting. We lay that out. So all the downlights, we kind of lay that out ourselves. So yeah, so to answer your question, no, we do that in-house here.
So Keith, when you say in-house, do you mean Blue Heron or do you mean Southwest?
No, Blue Heron.
So it's
yeah.
part of your original design, like your vision people or someone over there is laying it out.
Yes, that's correct. So basically, we will tell the engineers, we'll lay this out. We'll supply this to our electrical engineers. They'll put it in their drawing set, and we'll just make sure it's coordinated to what we want. But yes, we are providing that.
So yeah, definitely with the lighting, we do that. Mechanical, they tend to take the pass and do the mechanical, but what we do is come in and say, hey, they may drop it in right here. We're gonna move it and line it up within that vicinity and make it look nice and pretty. Because mechanical, as you know, they just drop stuff in there. They don't necessarily care about how well it looks. But it's on us to make sure we kind of line it up and make sure it looks aesthetically pleasing.
Chris, Keith, when, Stephen was that, one of the things we've done is we've got a lot of sign-offs in our process where we create a lighting plan, which is everything light related, not RCP. How do you guys see Chris and Keith in the process of Stephen Lizette building and us needing to go in and get those sign-offs done by the client? Is it just something where we use BIM 360 and we'll just go in and say, hey, we're going to take
right.
So how do you see that working?
Yeah, that's a good, I was just about to bring that up. So yeah, I will, if you guys have access to BIM 360, we would prefer that because as Stephen was speaking to, as you guys are kind of working through this, working on this stuff, we still have some sign-offs that we need to kind of work through with the client, and especially with the spec home, it's pretty much Tyler. So in that instance, we'll probably say, hey, reach out to you guys. Hey, we're going to go in and probably do some of this original architectural lighting, just kind of drop them in. And as you guys are working on other things, we probably come in and do this real quick and get that approved by Tyler. That's how I've handled it so far. I'll jump in, I'll tell the other consultants we were using, like, listen, I'm gonna go in and do the lighting, so just understand I'll be in the project doing that. And so that's why we requested them to be in BIM 360, so we can kind of have that access to do those things.
Mhm. Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. Other tools that we use to kind of help with coordination between ourselves and you guys will be Bluebeam. That's another one that we kind of will probably need you guys to have if you guys don't have. That way we can kind of, once we get the set over from you guys, we'll take time out, review it, redline it, and get it back over to you through Bluebeam session.
Okay, so yeah, I have other clients that use it, and we don't have it yet, but I've been wanting to get it. So now it's a good enough excuse to get it. So
Right.
we'll get licenses, and we'll get our team up comfortable using it. And I may have to talk with you offline, Keith, just to make sure we're setting it up the way you want it set up. I guess
Okay.
when we create a new set of PDFs, we upload it to Bluebeam, and then that Bluebeam takes over and, does its thing with all of the smart objects. Is that right?
Yeah, so what Bluebeam does is it's really more of a tool for just coordination in terms of like say how we primarily use it. It's more so instead of us sending you a PDF just with red lines on it, we'll redline that set and it's live. Everything's live. And so when we invite you to that session, we can invite you to a Bluebeam session. You'll be able to see the red lines. You'll be able to highlight in there. And if we need to add anything, or if you need to ask us a question, you can do it right there within the set. So it's
Okay.
kind of it's the closest we can get to if you're in a virtual, we're working in two different spaces that we kind of feel like we're in the same office,
Yeah.
where we can kind of just communicate quick and fast with each other, So
Yeah.
that's kind of why we love to use it. Love to see whoever's working on the set highlighting what they're doing. I mean, this is something, it's kind of one of those basic drafting things, but it's something that we love to see done because now we can look through the set and kind of understand where you guys are at. You have a question about the red line, you can ask us and we can
Right.
communicate right back to you. So
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get up to speed with that. I've been wanting to do that for quite a while. We've been using on BIM 360, you have the markup tools, but I think Bluebeam has a lot better tools and then work in the native PDF.
yeah.
Okay.
And then some other things that we'll get over to you guys. Our Revit template, I didn't really go through that, but it's kind of the same thing. We have a lot of the wall styles already loaded in there, windows, some families, some details, and stuff like that. So kind of have it's a good starting point.
Can you pull it up?
I'll pull it up. Let me see
While
here.
you're doing that, do you already have it open?
Yeah, I got it open already.
All right, good.
So basically we have all our sheets. We have, I'll show you to the browser here. Kind of have our sheets set up already in here. Just where it goes. You'll have all your different wall styles. In here, you'll have all your different windows and details and stuff like that. So we kind of have it's packed with a bunch of everything you pretty much need. Now, some of the stuff is not in here. I don't have everything in this template because it'll just make it too heavy and we don't need everything in there. But I'll definitely give you guys access to some of our families and stuff like that so you guys can do it. Get what you need. So but yeah, we have like our wall styles here. These are our standard wall styles, meaning that what happens, we have our vision team, our design department, they start off with those walls.
Okay.
And then from there, they kind of evolve into different walls. But this is kind of what you'll see, the standard walls.
Yeah, those are the generic walls that are not specified as any particular materials, stone or finish, right?
Well, here they're standard. They're just basically meaning that it just have gyp. It doesn't get stucco and all that stuff on it. So yeah,
Okay.
so yeah. But yeah, I mean, for what is just a template, so you really can't see it all. All this is more so when you start to work within it, you'll start to see that we have all the things you need in terms of just things you would need to get started.
Okay.
Now, the template I send over to you, this particular template right now does not have work sets in it. We do have our established work sets, and I like to send this as a kickoff whenever we kick off a project. It's pretty much a Revit project plan, and it'll give you the project name, number, who's all on the team, um, any design phases, anything that we need to meet, we'll send that to you. Engineers, stuff like that. Probably don't have to worry about that. That's more for communities. Work sets, what I was talking about, all the different work sets and what goes on those work sets. So BH
perfect.
House, the main elements. So we'll send this over to you at a start of a project. We'll fill like one of our PDCs will fill it out and get that over to you so you'll kind of understand project base point and all the different things, all those different little things that you kind of need to get going on. We even break down the structure in BIM 360, where to save stuff at and stuff like that. So this will be a good
Perfect.
tool for you as well.
Okay,
So it's a few things that we'll send over to you to kick off the project.
yeah, that's great.
Okay, what else? We talked about, I think Stephen went over you with design. We have a design checklist that we will provide you. Typically what we
Yeah.
like to see with the design checklist, you go through that
Yeah,
checklist.
let me pull that up real quick.
Yeah, I think I'd like Lisette to see that because that's quite a cool checklist.
Can you guys see it?
Yes.
So essentially what we've done is, oops, we've created a little checklist just based on our experience, and it's nothing crazy. But just make sure that at a minimum, these are the items that we found. The building department always just catches on. So cover sheet, and again, that correlates to the cover sheet that we had that Keith showed you. And again, I have the sample set, I can pull it up, which is essentially the same thing that Keith already showed us. Architectural site plan, some of the things on there. Our civil plan. So this is really internally, we have to manage our civil engineer. We'll provide this to all engineers and make sure they're doing that, and then we'll back check and make sure all that stuff's in there. Floor plans, lots of stuff. Some minimums on water closets, some of that kind of stuff. Continued. Let's see what else. The roof plan, just some of the things, make sure that's there, all that kind of stuff. So elevations, building section, the enlarged stair plan, some of the details, and then I have structural, I'll just go a little mechanical, plumbing, electrical. And again, this is mostly for coordination internally once we receive everything from our consultants and some interior design stuff. So that's just kind of high level, but we'll send that as well.
So Stephen, if you
Yep.
could pull that up again,
Oh yeah, sure.
I just have a clarification. So, and if you go to the top, so all the way at the top, you have vision, production, interior design, and PDC. So would it be, could I make the statement that all of our work would fall under one of those categories, or would it be spread across the more than
No,
one?
all of your work would fall under production.
Production? Okay,
Yeah, pretty much.
all right.
The
Cool.
PDC is essentially our assistant PDM. So it's somebody that rolls up to Chris, our vision team. We had kind of talked about, that's our conceptual team. So you'll see, well, once you get this, you'll kind of see how there's some areas are more heavily weighted than others, depending on the role you play. But yes, your role would be production.
Okay.
What else, Keith, would you say? And let's not be shy. And Steve and I talked about some of the other outside consultant that I brought to the table that just didn't work out. Keith, what were
Mhm.
some of those high level things that you want to make sure Lisette and Steve are aware of so that we don't make the same mistakes?
I think the biggest thing that we notice from them is that just the lack of paying attention to details. And what I mean by that is Blue Heron works kind of uniquely in the sense that a lot of our design is done, well, not necessarily uniquely, but we rely heavily on SketchUp for our initial design. And it's kind of a lot of it's thought through in terms of design and details, those little details that I consider that matters, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So those things, paying attention to those in SketchUp and being able to translate that over into Revit. And even if you do see something that doesn't make sense, oh, this transition, how is this going to transition? How is that finish going to actually transition and terminate at that wall? Like having that understanding of how something how a detail like that matters to the end product is something that I didn't think forefront seen, or they just didn't have that ability to understand that. And then also they did a bunch of little just, I call them junior level drafting mistakes, you know what I mean? Just different things like that. So we'll be looking for you guys to kind of have a foresight to see those things a little bit more. And if you don't see, if it's a question, ask the question like, oh, what is this? Why is it supposed to be like this? So just really ask the question and be more and make sure you just communicate. That's why I'm trying to push the tool like Bluebeam or something like that, so we can kind of over communicate, and that way we can make sure we get this product, you know, looking to it how it should look. So um,
Let's talk about also what we will provide, which will be a SketchUp model and a Revit floor plan. Can you talk through that and what attention should be paid to which one of those two programs?
so this is kind of our process. So like we talked about, Vision is our design team, and they'll initially start with two things. They'll start with SketchUp and they'll start with a Revit floor plan. Now the Revit floor plan, and I was showing you those standard walls, they'll start with just those standard walls. They'll actually give you, we'll have a floor plan based in Revit from kind of what the SketchUp model is born from. What they do is, and what we try to request them do, and we'll try to make sure this is what we need to make sure we do good on our end, is make sure that the SketchUp model and the floor plan match each other. Now, the floor plan in Revit doesn't, it's just walls. It doesn't have ceilings. It doesn't have roof plan. You know, it's just really pretty much they almost use it as a 2D thing, but it still has 3D elements in terms of they're still using the walls and doors and stuff like that. But it's not a fully modeled Revit plan. So those two things you'll receive a Revit floor plan, and you'll receive a full SketchUp model with all the, you know, fully modeled with all the forms and shapes and stuff like that.
Keith, would you, in your experience, and so Lizette and Steve, you know, I'm asking a lot of questions because as we go through this, I'm asking a lot of questions on my own team because as we go through this, we've learned some lessons of how we can tighten this up. Keith, do you prefer that Lizette and Steve would to take that Revit model and continue to build off of it, or would you prefer they start from scratch? But what are your expectations?
My expectations would be that they take that Revit model and start to build from there. And this is where, and I'll speak candidly, where we're gonna make sure we do a better job at before we send you that Revit model. Make sure our SketchUp model and our Revit model are speaking, you know, they're coordinated. We'll make sure they're coordinated, and that will give you a better picture and give you a place to start. And one thing we'll do is try to make sure we work through dimensioning and stuff like that in terms of the Revit model, in terms of giving you something that's not crazy dimensions and everything. But if we can give you a good floor plan to go off of, a good SketchUp model to go off of, I think we'll put you in a great position to succeed. And that's kind of what we want to do. Make sure we're giving you the proper information so you can do your job. So, but that's my expectation will be for you to start from that Revit model.
So the process makes sense to me, and it's pretty much how we worked in the past when we were using AutoCAD files instead of the Revit floor plan. And so what Lisette did before was when we would get the initial files, that she would go and compare the SketchUp model with the floor plan and just comb through the whole set and create either a short list or sometimes a longer list of issues that we thought needed to be addressed before we, you know, proceeded with getting our team going on it all. So I think we would do the same thing here.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. And one of the things I'm trying to get across to the team is take that SketchUp model, cut a section, and then link it right back into Revit, and then look at the floor plan and compare it, because you'll be able to see. So we'll try to make sure we do those things up front. Well, we will not try. We'll do those things up front and make sure you have a solid starting point.
Okay.
Okay. Lisette, Steve, questions for us?
Yeah, when looking at your set, since we've worked on other projects for you before, And I don't know how detailed that cartoon set that you have is. Well, it's a cartoon set, but I would actually want to see the newest CD, a newest CD set that you would have, because that looked, I remember doing a lot of detailing and a lot more noting. So I just want to make sure that I know exactly how you're doing your working sets these days.
So,
Like a-
so the one that Keith had shown you is one of the latest permitted sets of drawings. So what we'll do is we'll send that. We'll also send, here, I'll just share it real quick. We'll also share with you this set, which is our cartoon set, just so you have some sort of baseline. But again, the one that Keith was sharing with you just now is in fact a permitted set.
So,
Yeah.
I think what Lisette's noticing that I also noticed is that your sets are a lot cleaner, simpler, and not as busy as before.
Thank you.
Yeah. They look great.
Keep it simple.
You know, we've taken a philosophy, which is if you make the sets look, well, typically they should be pretty simple. We do have a tendency to over detail sometimes. And certainly there will be questions in the field, and we'll provide some field bulletins if there's something needs clarifying. But the primary objective is to get into the building department and present a set that looks simple to build, so that they review it with the premise that it's not too complicated, you know?
Yeah.
So that's, and so we have made a hard push, and with the set that Keith had shared with you, Keith, I mean, how many comments did you get from the building department on that?
Now we didn't get any comments on that one. Yeah.
Oh,
So
there you go. So,
Wow. Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring that up, because I remember there were many sheets and a lot of more info
Mhm.
put on previous sets. So, okay, that's wonderful.
Chris, did
Yeah.
you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, it's yeah. If you worked with us in the past, then yes, there's a lot of things that I think we were doing. Definitely before I got here, Stephen and Keith, I mean, really, the people you're talking with have only been here for a couple of years, but you know, just the way that sheets were getting separated, information was getting, you know, added. Everything seemed to be, let's just add a sheet to just show this one thing because it'll be easier to read, versus, you know, making, you know, a concerted effort to try to simplify the information that we're giving so that it's less sheets. You know, there are going to be projects that we're working on internally that will require more information just because of the complexity of the house. But you know, that's a 20,000+ square foot house that we're talking about, right? Like
Right.
this
Yeah.
stuff that we're looking at right now is it's easy to achieve that and sort of simplify these sets, make it easier for the planning departments. The thing that we're running into an issue on, I would say, isn't really permit sets from an architectural standpoint getting comments back. It's really more consultants, which is another thing that I don't know if that's really been discussed in terms of how we work on this first project, which is additional consultant coordination. So structural, MEP, civil.
So let's keep that. Am I on mute?
But we can hear you.
Okay. So let's, for now, let Sydney kind of help with that.
Yeah.
You know, there will be some things that I'm sure we'll send off to you. I don't think we should make it Stephen Lisette's primary
That's fine.
function. Let's
Mhm.
focus on just building them up and, you know, get to a place that maybe at some
No, I
point,
agree.
Stephen Lisette, that we'll say, hey, listen, can you guys manage our consultants for us? And maybe you will, you know?
Yeah, so I like that approach. We've managed consultants in the past for not only Blue Heron, but also other clients in Las Vegas. So we actually probably we may know some of your consultants, or maybe you've moved on to what Blue Heron used in the past. So we're open to that, but I do agree with this approach. There's a lot of changes at Blue Heron. There's new people. So let's start simple and grow from there with a comfort level that we all can enjoy.
Right. And so Lisette, just back to kind of some of the little things that we just started doing to really tell the story is, you know, the pluses and the minuses, you know, just really just right here, flat, right here on the page, just tells the story of depth. And again, even the 3D stuff, you know, this has been really useful in helping our trades understand that this is -5, and this, whatever it might be.
Yeah,
So,
that's,
yeah, so
wow.
there are little things like that. Now, certainly we're gonna be, we have kind of a standard basic set of details that we reference, so we'll get that over to you, Keith. I know we haven't started getting those into Revit, but for now they're in CAD, I think, so we'll work through how to populate those. We have a lot of other details, but we really tried to, I'll just say, dumb it down, for lack of a better term. Things like just the dotted line, not calling out too many dimensions. Like showing in this section how the depth can vary, but the detail is not meant to show you a 6-inch overhang or an 8-inch overhang or whatever it might be, right? Or recess. It's meant to show the constructible methods, and then it's translated into, that condition pulled out here kind of thing. So we've really worked hard to try and thin this down and streamline it. So, and like I said, based on what the set that Keith had shared with you, certainly the building department appreciated it.
Nice.
And speaking of details, in the past, I used to put the detail set together. Is that going to be the case this time, or are you going to put the set of details together?
I think you will, right, Keith? Like
Yeah,
essentially,
you'll put the set of details together. A lot of times, sometimes if it's, we'll send over like the standard details, and then you'll be able to kind of reference those because they're pretty standard. And then if there's something special, a special detail of that we need, I'll probably either send you over a sketch with the detail I've already drawn. Within the Bluebeam section, I'll mark up like, hey, here's this detail, and I'll upload the details to Bluebeam, to BIM 360, sorry, and I'll mark up in Bluebeam where that detail goes and stuff like that. So, so you'll have access to it.
Okay, and I've noticed that you don't have landscape or full details anymore, because you used to have full details on the past.
yeah,
On-
no, I mean, we still do, but that
Mhm.
wouldn't be your responsibility, Chris. What are your thoughts? It just changes so much.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a challenge that we're running into right now with Forefront, just dealing with the changes. I mean, if we're not looking to, I think, loop in consultants on this first one, I would say that we would be in control of that personally. I mean,
Yep.
I think we can talk about it. I think before we get this first one underway. I mean, realistically, right now, I don't know what we're talking about from a timing standpoint to start that, but I mean, again, just based on today's meeting, we'll probably want to pick up some things here early into the new year, just to make sure that we have an understanding of what this house is from a planning standpoint, from a massing standpoint, before we jump off.
Okay.
It'll take some time to get it massed and make sure that we're giving you guys a position to be successful and not jump on it early.
Yeah, let's keep it pretty simple to just essentially these whatever 13, 14 pages that we're looking at right now. There will we will probably evolve into the hardscape stuff later on, or have you guys? We have to figure that out. Maybe not. It's just such a constantly moving thing. I want to try and protect you guys from the things that change so frequently, and really have you help us knock out the things that will get us a permit set. But we'll continue to discuss. So let's keep it simple this first round. And as we go through it, and you start giving us feedback on how we're doing as far as a partner in this endeavor with you. If you feel like, what, this was pretty simple, pretty easy, maybe we'll start talking about giving you a little bit more. Those are just some of the, yes, thank you for bringing up the hardscape landscape. Haven't completely figured that one out yet.
Okay, so for the first project, we will be doing the standard details, the architectural details, but not the hardscape or landscape details. Is that the takeaway?
I would say that that's probably the right approach, because if we're not looping in civil as part of your coordination, then I would say that's probably something that we should control. Just based on the last experience of the first 6 that we did for specs, we were making those changes last minute, right? As we were getting through bids and getting that information in, we were making hardscape and landscape changes. So I think just to keep it simple for the first one, that's probably the right approach.
And that gives us the flexibility, especially with you utilizing BIM, we can pull it down or whatever it is that we do and do what we need to do. Because I mean, you don't need a landscape or hardscape plan. I mean, you need it for some of the HOAs, or DRBs, but we don't need it for building departments. So
And even to that end, like what we would need for an HOA, we are going to get from our consultant. And in
Right.
a lot of cases, our consultants that are handling landscape, hardscape pool, they're really contractors, right? We're not necessarily working with a landscape architect who's doing design only and then bidding it. We're going to try to work with a company that's going to actually do the design and then be the builder as well. So, you know, something that we can put together graphically and get in front of an HOA to get a sign off.
good question. Any other questions like that we can try and answer?
I do have another question. In the past, we were doing interior, I may not have the correct terminology, but we were doing interior design set, and it was an 11x17 set, and it was of each room, all four walls, floor and ceiling. Do you guys still do that?
Not in that depth. Keith, do you have one you can pull up?
Yes, I can pull up there.
Do you want them to do the interior?
Yeah, so we don't do the 11x17s on this side anymore.
Sorry, just kind of pull my headset up to talk to Greg. So yeah, maybe you do the interior design stuff as well.
So this is familiar. It was a smaller set, but this is how the set we were putting together. It's a separate set of plans.
Mhm.
Is that correct? Is that how you're still doing it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Why don't you dive in a little bit?
yeah, we provide a key plan. So as you notice, it'll just say A here. And then from there, it'll be A1, A2, A3, and just kind of unfold the room. You know, start work your way around and unfold the room.
And we've started providing, so we will provide you with the SketchUp image
Yeah.
so that you can drop it on the sheet. You know, we're trying to utilize the 3Ds to help tell the story.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. We're using all these are like smart tags, by the way, as well.
Okay.
So
You're
using
moving in and out
that.
too fast. You're making
Oh,
me nauseous.
sorry. As you can see,
Okay.
um,
So
general
Keith,
notes.
all this stuff is modeled, right? Like the cabinets are modeled, correct?
All this stuff is modeled. Yeah, vast majority of everything in here is modeled. Now we do like fill regions around the elevation to give it some weight, make
Okay.
it pop out and look, you know, give it some type of artistic feel a little bit to it.
Okay.
But most of all this stuff is modeled. And we do use some fill regions on some stuff. Like our wall tile that we're showing right here is actually a thin wall that we just drop against the wall. So it so you don't have to put a fill region here, fill region here, fill region. Once you draw that, it's gonna hide where it's supposed to hide. It's gonna act as if it's gonna display how it's supposed to display because it's modeled. But like something like this, we'll do a detail line here to indicate the code, you know, stuff like that.
Okay.
Detail lines here to indicate the pop-up here.
So we also are not doing all walls just for the sake of all walls. If it's just a big blank wall, there's no point in showing it.
Yeah, like we're not elevating just a blank wall. You know, if it has something on the walls, then we elevate it, you know,
Okay.
to tell that story.
Mhm.
You can see like we're not elevating certain walls. Certain walls is just not being elevated because it doesn't fit in terms of telling a story. We know that wall is going to be one solid color and we just leave that at that.
Okay. And is the material design set a later? Is it follow after the project's been put in the building department or staggered a little bit?
No. The objective is you'll deliver to us kind of everything all at once.
Okay.
Because once we go to the building department, we're also obviously, you know, of course, the interior design is not going with the building department, but the architectural, the permit set and these interior design drawings will go to estimating, and those will go right out to bid. So we need these finished at the same time.
Okay.
What else, guys?
I think that's pretty it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up the interior design. That's good. What else could we, Keith? Yeah, so I'll just talk it through. So, right, so for now, if you would provide us, the expectation is the architectural set, those 14-ish pages or whatever it was. You would be responsible for putting together the details. We would provide you with the guidance on what details go where. You create the sets, the interior design sets, as you see it here. We will provide you with the 3D rendering image for you to pop into the set.
Okay.
We will hold off on you doing any kind of coordination with our consultants this round. Let's get you comfortable with producing, acting as a production team for us. Maybe next round, if you guys are happy with us and we're happy with you, we'll add in the coordination factor.
Okay.
I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Just to recap, I'll send you over a few things. Revit template, families, details. Even we changed our fonts in our new template, so I'll send those fonts over too. Design checklist, we'll get that over to you. Sample set, keynotes, so all that, we'll get all that stuff over to you. Keynote.
Yeah, the checklist too, Keith.
Yeah. Mhm.
So
Check.
so this one house, lot 86, hopefully with it being a 1-story, it'll be just a little bit simpler to get kicked off on. Chris, you're saying probably ready to send stuff off to Lisette and Steve mid-January? What are you thinking?
Google floor plan, massing, I'd say probably closer to the end of January.
End of January?
Yeah.
And so is there anything else what about the expo ones?
I mean, Expo could go probably before that.
Well, we haven't closed on a lot yet.
No,
We haven't closed on
technically
a lot
we
as well.
haven't closed on a lot either on this
Yeah.
one, but
So so let's estimate something coming to you guys right now. We'll slate this one, lot 86, for late January to kick it off to you guys. How long do you think it would take for you to put all this together and get us the sets?
So understanding that you'll be giving us a SketchUp model and basically floor plans drawn in the Revit template, and we'll take it from there. So we'll finish the model. So you're asking us to finish the model and finish the CDs, because I know, Stephen, before you and I talked about some projects you may finish the model and have us finish the CDs.
Right. I think so. So Keith, what I was talking about was basically like with 26, where you had basically built out the model and we sent it off, and they didn't want to use that. They wanted to start from scratch. I don't want to go down that route yet, unless it's maybe something that gets a little more complex. Steve and Lisette. So yes, Steve, what you said, you finish building out the model for us, and then you complete the CDs for us. Maybe later on there might be somewhere where you might tell us, look, Stephen, I have capacity for 1.5 projects, right? And that half a project would be where we would build out the model for you and send it off to you, and you just build us some CDs. You know what I mean? Like, we'll have that kind of open dialogue about, hey, can you take this? Can you take that? And you tell us whether you're willing to do that.
Okay, that makes sense. So I want to get Lisette's input as well, but let me just throw a number out there and we can work back from there. I mean, does 8 weeks sound reasonable? Too much time?
It's a little high. So in our schedule, we're looking at sort of 6 weeks
Okay.
to get that all done, and that's it stretches because of the amount of work out there. But ideally, it's a 6-week beginning to end.
Okay.
And through that, we'll have a 50% set, 75% set that we would expect, after 3 weeks, after 5 weeks, whatever, that kind of stuff.
Okay. And I think that's probably reasonable. I was prepared to say about 6 weeks, but of course I always want to ask for some buffer ahead of time and then work our way back from there.
That's okay. It made me work on my negotiation skills. I got you back down to what you could have done anyway.
Right.
Okay, no, I think that's fine. So next step would be, you guys let us know, is this something you're able to receive sort of, let's call it late January, third week of January, maybe last week of January, and kind of get on your calendar. In the meantime, Keith, send all the stuff, including this this recorded thing. I don't know how to get this off my desktop. We'll have to figure this out.
Yeah,
and
that'll
then-
be very valuable to the rest of my Revit team that, they'll have questions for me. Hey, Steve, where do we get this and that? Because Lisette is my architectural mind. She's the go-to person for the set coming across your desk looking fantastic. And so I'm kind of the front end and the back end. So I'm front end, you and I talk, Stephen, but then I'm also kind of our little in-house CAD BIM manager. So getting this recording over to the rest of my team will help them get questions to me that I can get to Keith, and we can make sure that we're gelling with everything you want us to do behind the scenes.
Yeah, that'll be great. So Keith, if you can make sure this all the stuff goes out as soon as possible this week. Not a lot of folks I'm around all next week, but not a lot of folks are. But at least early January, Stephen, the set, you guys can get in front of your team. They can start populating questions so we can get ourselves, coordinated early before we actually hand off a project to you. And then Steve, you and I can talk about price, what you'll charge for us.
Okay.
We can do that later on after you've had a chance to really dig in with your team.
All right, sounds good.
Does all that
Yeah.
work for everybody?
Yeah, and I think it may be it'll be good for us to kind of set up a little meeting, Steve, that we can just kind of go over and talk about some model standards in terms of how things should be, how we prefer things to be modeled in Revit, and I think that'll kind of help you guys out in the long run as well. The expectation of
good.
when we're looking at that.
Can you, Steve, can you give us some dates early January that we can, that Keith can do an informational session with you and your team?
Yeah, I'm wide open, but let me get with my team because I'd like to have them in on that meeting. So let me get some dates back to Keith and we'll get that set up.
Sounds good. Lisette, any additional questions or feedback for us?
No, this looks, I'm excited to work at these houses there. They're so beautiful. So it's always so good to work on them. But yeah, looking
So-
forward to it.
Good, thank you. So
Great.
look, as you've heard, we have made a tremendous amount of progress, I think, as you've seen. However, we are Blue Heron, right? And let's be very candid and frank with each other so that we can have a successful relationship. We may have changes. That's just the reality. And I think, Steve, you've probably experienced that in the past, and Lisette as well. So we want to be fair with each other. We want to communicate with each other. And I have no problem if it's like change orders, right? If it's reasonable, fine. That's not, I'm not going to nickel and dime, but what's most important to me is that we are communicating and we are being honest with each other about things like changes. They will happen. So while I think the output is going to be what you've seen, a much more streamlined and clean deliverable, certainly our processes, there's probably going to be some changes that happen throughout. So just bear that in mind as you're thinking about everything.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure talking to both of you. Chris, Steve, thanks. Lisette, Steve, thank you as well. Keith, thank you.
Thank
No
you.
problem. All
And,
right,
Keith,
Have a
you'll
good one,
send all
guys.
that, you'll send all that stuff over, and
Yep.
Steve, you'll get me some date. You get some dates to Keith, and then you and I can have a conversation at the beginning of the year about pricing.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Wonderful. You guys have a very happy and safe holidays. If we don't talk
Yeah.
soon,
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
all right,
Nice
you guys
meeting
have
you
a
guys.
good one.
take care. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Bye.